Hey guys, welcome back to CS Garage. Today I'm back on the 1970 Monte Carlo Pro Touring build. You can see in my reflection of my TVs behind me. And what we're doing today, here it is. And what we're doing today is showing you my progress so far of the smoothing of the firewall. Let's get over here, show you where I'm at right now. I got the main panel mocked up right there. I have this panel right here ready to be welded, which is going to cover the wiper motor area there. And then you have the third panel here, which I have yet to mock up. You can see this area here where the fender to firewall mount is removed, because they weren't positioned properly. So I will reposition both of these. I'll mock up the fenders, put the new brackets in place, get them positioned properly, weld them up, and be done with that portion of it, because I want to smooth that area around those brackets as best as possible. This is a kit from ABC Performance, 3-piece kit. Firewall smoothie kit. I've used ABC Performance for their mini tub kit and their frame bracing kit, and they did great work, and I have no complaints about it whatsoever. So let's begin with this portion of the firewall smoothie process. I'm gonna attach this piece up there and begin welding it. I have already prepped the area with weld through primer, backside of this piece. And right there. Now let me back up and say the previous owner, somebody prior to me owning the car, welded in that piece right there, and then wiped about 1/4 to almost a 1/2 inch of Bondo on this whole firewall, and I had to remove it all because that's not the way I'm doing it. That wasn't fun, but it has to be done. You want to do it right. To me, this is the right way to do it. I'm going to weld. As you can see, this piece has many weld holes, but I'm going to take my time, plug welding it, cooling every weld off as I go. It's going to be a long process, but I should have little to zero warpage, and that's the key, because I don't want much Bondo on the face of these panels when I'm done. So let's see how it goes. Let's get started. All right, I'm gonna reattach this, my 3 sheet metal screws, get it back in place where I mocked it up. Back up a little bit. What I also wanted to tell you was the piece that comes with the ABC kit for that area flattens out that area so it's not recessed. And I didn't like that for when I reinstall either the factory motor, wiper motor, or I get an aftermarket. More likely I'm going to get an aftermarket, newer type of wiper motor for that area. I wanted it recessed for additional clearance under the hood. And what I did to get this piece to fit in that area, and this is nothing new, is I used tape. Bunch of tape going across, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, so the tape is fairly thick so it doesn't peel apart when you go to peel it off. And then I used a razor blade and trimmed it out where I wanted it, around the perimeter there. laid the tape on the piece of metal and just cut it out. Worked good. You guys have probably seen this before. It's a neat little trick. Came out perfect the first time. So I'm going to reattach my sheet metal screws where I have it locked up. Start with the middle. Tightening them down until I get them all the way reinstalled. One more here. And I could do more, but I found that these three, attaching these three, especially that center screw, holds it flat, pretty flat. I'll show you. You want it pretty flat. You don't want no gaps between all your drill holes. And the back panel. You want it flat as possible. So snug them up. Tight, not super tight. I don't want to strip them. But if I do, it's okay. I'm not removing this panel again. There, snugged up. And it fits flush all the way around. Little movement right here, but no movement anywhere else. Little here, but I will clamp that down before I weld that up. I'm going to start with some of the centers, a few of the center holes, working my way out to the perimeter when I weld it up. I'm not welding this edge because I'm going to use some body filler and blend it. I'll show you how to do that. But that'll be a video for another day when I finish the firewall up completely. Today it's just welding this in. I'm gonna weld in these two little dimples here, one more there. Leave the rest. There's only a few there. Anyways, those are the only three. And there's one right here. Weld that in. Minimal Bondo will be needed to flatten that out. But again, I'm not gonna do the edge. I'm not welding the edge. I'm gonna use a bead, Bondo if you will, in there. Smooth it out, blend it. You won't even see it. Same thing with this one when I get to it. Then I'll smooth it and blend it into this existing firewall, and it flow out the right way. Okay, you can see I put a large clamp right here just to ensure that this plate is butted up against the firewall, so when I go to weld this area here, there's no gap. That's the only area that I see that I need it. Maybe up here too. And that's okay. When I get to that, I'll clamp that and ensure that these are flush. The rest of it, I'll probably have to do it in a few other areas. But again, you want to make sure it's flush. There's no gap from the panel that you're installing to the firewall. So I'm going to put you guys on time lapse and get to welding. Okay, I had you guys on a time lapse. I'll bring you back. It's the first time I'm ever doing a video with a time lapse. Hopefully, once I edit it, it will be okay to look at. I'll get my lighting right here. Looks like a World War II B-17 rivet. The welds are okay. They're a little fat. The top ones are giving me a problem because I'm old and I'm blind, and I had to squat down and to try to get them. Especially that one in the left corner there. I'll clean them all up. That took me about an hour, 15 minutes. I don't believe I have any warpage. As you saw, I was drying them off, cooling them down with my air hose. Next, I will grind these down. I'll bring you back once I have them all ground down. Correct any of my welds that I need to, and we'll take a look at it. So I'll bring you back. All right, guys, I had you on a time lapse there. Hopefully that came out okay. Let's take a look at this. About 45 minutes of grinding. I used a 40 grit on a flap wheel. You see on my 4.5-inch grinder, and then I'm using 80 grit on my belt sander there, which I love from Eastwood. So let's take a look at it. Let me move my belt sander on the ground here so it doesn't fall. I'll edit that part out. So here we are, 45 minutes or so. You can see how the grinding is. Try to hit it from different angles so the light will show you the scratch marks in a different way and help you smooth it out. Got a little deep on this one here. I can barely feel anything. Skim coat of filler over this, so it'll be fine. Let's look at it from this angle. I don't see any warpage. Maybe some denting from my clamps, a little bit in here. But for the most part, I think it came out pretty clean. All right. Next, we'll be moving on to these sections. Okay, here we are. I have installed the fender to firewall brackets in the correct location. You can see how it fits with this plate. Did not touch any of the cutouts around this this bracket. But I've prepped it. I've cut the opening for the wiring harness right here. That was not there. I had to cut that open. Punch all these holes in it to weld it. Maybe overkill, but I feel better if I do it like that. So next up is welding this in place. So it is prepped with weld-through primer on the firewall and the back side of the plate. The other brackets on over here as well. I did a mock-up with the front fenders and the radiator support to ensure that these are in the correct location. And it worked out good, as you can see here. So what I'll do is I'm gonna weld this up, since I already did a time lapse on this portion here, showed you the welding and grinding and whatnot. I'm not gonna show it on this one, but I will bring you back when I'm all done welding and ground down smooth, and we'll check it out. All right, bringing you guys back a couple hours later. All welded up to this point and ground down pretty smooth. Skim coat. Shouldn't be much filler on any of this to get it looking flat as can be. Pretty happy with it. The other piece there again, and so now it's on to the largest piece. The reason why I didn't do this one first, I did mock it up, but I have noticed that whoever welded up this area here warped the crap out of this firewall right here. So now I gotta do some hammer and dolly to get this all flat. So that's what I'm gonna be working on next. Get it as flat as possible before I start welding in the largest piece here. All right, I was able to get the original firewall piece that's warped by the previous owner who welded up those where the AC unit was and all that. It's warped. I was able to get it kind of flat. So this outer panel here fits pretty flush. As you can see through here, it fits really good. I did do some trimming previously throughout. What I'm planning on doing is I'm gonna weld it up on the perimeter, drill some holes all the way around the perimeter there. You see some of the holes there. But my plan is to use panel bond adhesive, which I have right here. It's got an expiration date on it. So I'm gonna use that panel bond adhesive and welds to install this piece. Because right in this area is where it's warped. Right in here, I'm gonna put the majority of the panel bond adhesive in there to fill up the little bit of gap in there, and then some other places here and there, and then I'm gonna weld it up. So that is the plan. I'm not gonna show all that. So the next time I bring you back, this will all be welded up, ground down, ready for primer. This will all be finished off when I bring you back. Same for over here. I'm gonna finish this off through here. Smooth it all out. All right, here we are with where I'm at currently with this flat panel on the firewall. It's all welded up, ground smooth. Very little to minimal warpage from my welding that I can tell. Of course, next step, I will primer it, epoxy primer it with Eastwood epoxy primer. It's good stuff. Then I'll use body filler and get it perfectly smooth. And for the first time, I am going to use a polyester high build primer after that to do the final smoothing of this panel, or all these panels. That is my next step. Coming out pretty good. You can see what I did around there. Added metal to each one of these. I'll add some more metal at the top there today. Finish that off. But I smoothed out the panels around these brackets. This one too. I don't know if I'm gonna put a panel or a piece of metal on top of there or not, or just, it's gonna be seam sealed across the top and the bottom. I think that looks pretty good. I think I'll leave this one as is. All right, guys, bringing it back. Epoxy primer paint day, finally. I have cleaned this 3 times, 3 different ways, with a wax and grease remover that's waterborne, and then a pre-painting prep from Eastwood, which is the second step. And then the third step I used is alcohol, rubbing alcohol, like 91%. So this is DA'd and hand sanded with 80 grit. Retreated with Piclex 20. And then the final cleaning again today. And mask it off like you see it. So next time you see this, it'll be in epoxy primer, Eastwood 1:1 gray epoxy primer. All right, it's the next day. Letting it still gas out. I'm gonna give it another day before I start adding filler. But I think it came out pretty nice. This is 2 coats of Eastwood's epoxy primer. It's only the second time, I guess you can say third time, that I've sprayed anything on a car. I did not film the process, kind of kicking myself for that, because I wanted to see how I did actually spraying. I think the results speak for itself. Sorry, I'm trying to put light on it so you can see how smooth it laid down. I think this stuff is really good. You can see my grinding of my welds. That will disappear when I add body filler to the smooth sections here. I'll tell you what the gun is here in a second. It's my primer gun with a 1/8 tip. I think they recommend between 1/4 to 1/8 tip. I think it came out really good. Smooth. I don't know what the camera's doing there, but I'm happy with it. And again, it's only epoxy primer, the initial coat. Or the first step in the priming of bare metal. Again, I treated the bare metal with 80 grit scratches, cleaned it 3 separate times, used Piclex 20 rust treatment, which provides an etch that even Eastwood recommends, using some type of fast etch or some type of rust etching prior to applying this epoxy primer. What I like about the Piclex 20, and other people have talked about it too, is that you don't have to neutralize it. You wipe it on, you make sure you don't wipe it on too thick, it'll cloud up. You just apply more until none of the cloudiness is there. Give it a day and you can primer over it. I plan on doing that with the frame and the underneath of this car. I'm gonna use the AeroPro 600 or G6 600 with the 1/8 tip. I sprayed it at 30 PSI at the gun. Using the Spectrum Universal paint system from Harbor Freight. The cup is disposable. This is the cup it goes in. These are the disposable liners. Cleanup's really easy. But again, I'll go over the gun settings. I had 30 PSI at the gun. Fan, not about a quarter turn in from wide open, and fluid was wide open. So again, the next step is to apply body filler, smooth out these panels. The big panel there that you see, I don't know if it'll pick it up, but I don't know if it'll pick it up. Let me turn it like this. It is a little wavy, hard to really see it. It's very minor. I think it's like here and then over this area there. Other than that, I can't detect any like warpage on the rest of these flat panels. So I will bring you back once I have applied filler and sanded it down. All right, guys, here is where I'm at now in the smoothing of these panels and blending them together. You see the Eastwood contour body filler that I'm using. It's pretty straight. Hard to tell from the camera, but today I am spraying polyester primer over these areas. 3 coats, that's the plan. Never used it before, never sprayed it. I got a 2.5 tip in my Aero Pro gun. I'm gonna start out with 30 PSI and see how it goes. So I'm gonna show that on camera. First time showing myself spraying, so I'm interested in see how I do. Stay tuned. All right, I'm bringing you guys back. I sprayed the polyester high build primer and sanded it down. And I didn't like, I still had some waves in this portion up top here. So I added more body filler. Then smoothed it out, and then I applied more epoxy primer over it and had a run right in that area. You can see it right there. I kind of sanded it out. It's pretty flat now. And what is that area up there? I see something with the light, but it looks like it's fairly smooth. Yeah. Either way, it's gonna get top coated eventually with Eastwood Underhood Black. And I'm gonna do, it looks like some more minor sanding right in this area there. You can see it on camera there. A few other areas, but for the most part, to me, I think it looks pretty good. Hopefully you guys agree. And again, this isn't the final product, if you will. It's gonna be sanded down a little bit smooth. Gotta sand it anyways to act, to open up the epoxy primer that's on here. And maybe I'll do a 2K over that when the time comes. Sanded it like 400, 320, 400, something like that. And then apply the Eastwood Underhood Black. But that's probably 6 months or so down the road. I actually have the belly of the car painted as well in epoxy primer. I'll show that on the next video. Just gonna wrap it up for my smooth firewall video. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. If you got friends who are in the 70 or first gen Monte Carlos or any Monte Carlos or A-bodies and likes this kind of content, please share my video. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the next one.